All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Teslafy Full Self-Driving. Going on my test loop today, I just received the update for 10.69.25.1. I actually didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to even test .25 when I first got it. Our roads here, as you can see, have been fairly terrible. And now we're getting some rain and things like that, so there's a fast kind of slowdown there for this left turn and getting in the turn lane. Again, I think visibility of the lane markings is going to be an issue with the slush that's around. We've been getting ice and freezing rain, and so we're going to see how it does. Okay, so it stopped in the middle of this lane here, and so I just went ahead and gave it the acceleration. That was really strange because it stopped slowed down in the middle, and there's no traffic coming from one side. So not in disengagement, it's fine. I'm going to take it a little bit slow around this corner since it is slushy. Okay, and we came close to that line but didn't cross it. So if you've seen, now we're crossing it, or really close to it. If you see my previous videos, that has been an issue. Luckily, it's not so much, not terrible, but it's more of an issue when there's traffic in that lane. Anyway, interested to see what's new here. Our end goal, of course, is Pybus Market. If you're not familiar with my videos, welcome. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you see anything strange or want to comment anything, please let me know below. My name is Sean, and welcome to the channel. All right, so coming up here, we've got an intersection that can traditionally give me some grief. It's a four-way stop, and usually we'll stop at the four-way stop, creep out to the creep line, even though it should be going, and sometimes it's gonna slow down here, so let's see if we proceed through. We do. Okay, good. So even though that is not a stopping intersection, for some reason it doesn't like that intersection either. But usually we'll come up to the creep line here, come to the stop, it's our turn, then goes to the creep line, then stops in the middle of the intersection, and then proceeds. We'll see what it does here today. Again, strange kind of turn signal there, no need for the turn signal here. So here's our stop line. It's showing like everybody else, like we're going to go. So I'm giving it the accelerator. So that hasn't changed. Again, not terrible. I would rather have to press the accelerator once in a while than fully take over. Let's slow down the car here, around corners especially. Good left turn though. So it looks like the roads aren't as bad as I thought they might be for today. But it is gross out. We're going to get a lot of spray here from trucks, etc. I would have turned on the wipers by now, but let's see what the auto wipers do. There we go. Luckily, the cameras in the front are higher up, so they might not get as much spray as I do as the driver. So this is a yield to a roundabout traffic. Again, if you're new to my videos, this is usually not an issue, but has had some challenges. And this is one of those things where I think, you know, is going to be one of the major benefits of FSD because of that angle. You have to look back to see the oncoming traffic. It's not a good picture in either of my mirrors, and so you have to kind of careen your neck back to see if there's anybody coming through the traffic circle. So that'd be really handy for FSD to be able to just pay attention to that entirely. Radar detector going a little bit nuts today. Okay, so this is the second time on my loop trip here that has decided to take this route instead of my traditional mission route, which I think this is actually a little bit more interesting and kind of, I think, what I initially hoped it would do when I first started using FSD. So normally we'd be up a couple of streets. and then come down a rondo. So, and that kind of had resulted in what had been my long-standing Pybus challenge. All right, so we're changing lanes here for a slow driver, which I think is totally appropriate. Civic, of course. Although now it's presented itself a bit of an awkward situation where it's going to have to speed ahead of this guy even further, which is looks like it's doing, and now it's slowing down. So it knows it needs to get into this other lane. Okay, and it's going to do it kind of in an intersection there, but that's fine. It was safe to do it. And we'll make our turn here. Or I guess the next street. So I might end up doing a manual loop back down just to double check that the Pybus challenge hasn't regressed, and I'll explain that if and when we do that. All right, so okay, a little bit quick around that corner, but again, that's one of those things where I probably should have turned down the speed, which I'm going to actually do so here. I'm going to turn it down to about 22. With the slush on the roads and stuff, even though I've got great tires and the car really does hug the ground well. Okay, so we've got the creep fence. We're actually in a pretty comfortable position, thanks to the snow berms. Really allows us to go out a little bit further, and then taking a nice left turn and follow up right. Again, should take it nice and slowly. There's a good amount of slush on that corner, which can cause a little bit of sliding, so that was good. All right, so here's our left to the market. It's interesting, I have noticed in a couple of builds where it will change the routing, where it traditionally picks like a route and sticks to it, but every build or so it switches things up just a tad, and I'm not entirely sure why. I never really see any notes about that, but it is what it is. So really, it's kind of funny. This is kind of like the a little bit more challenging for old beta, perhaps. You know, some right, left, etc. So maybe that's kind of why. And then the challenge ended up becoming just making sure it was in a straight line. So we made the market no problem. I believe it does like to go up to this next street up here with this route, so we'll let it go through this four-way, and it's proceeding, so that's great. All right, so I will go ahead and turn around since we made it to the market. I'm gonna make a quick loop, turn back on beta, and well, let's let it come in through here. Come on. Give it some acceleration. Boy, it's really hesitating to here. Okay, so all right, so I got a marker there set to kind of get us on track for the challenge, and I figured I'd turn it on while I'm kind of making my way back and then record it as well. So we're gonna have to wait here. Stop. Okay. Has a nasty habit of wanting to try and get some forward momentum as it's okay, and sees that pedestrian is kind of playing. Okay, go around it. Good. All right, so that was good, although it's really careening back over to the right. I'm kind of letting it do its thing because it's okay. I got nobody around. Okay, so there's some strange interactions there with lane weaving, but not entirely inappropriate. Okay, creeping, turning into the first lane. Wonderful. Right. And I've always been kind of curious what it's going to do here for... I went just right past the marker. Interesting. Okay, well, it's going to maybe added that to the first stop. I'm not entirely sure. You figure as you add stops, it should add it to the end of the trip. But anyway, so this will allow us to get to the Pybus market, no problem. So Pybus Challenge, if you are new to the channel, I basically been doing this test route for a number of, a little over a year now, I guess. A number of times been doing it. And as we come up to Orondo Street, which is just a couple blocks up, we're going to come down the street to get to the market and turn right on Orondo. And the issue has been that the right lane that it usually is in is a right turn only. And only the left lane is allowed to go straight to the market. And it is only marked on the road, and it's marked by a sign. And it has traditionally been in the right lane and then tried to, okay, so some really awkward movement here, and we're gonna miss our turn down to Orondo. Nope. Okay, I'm letting it do its thing. I gave it some acceleration, it's stopping. Okay, so we're being really awkward here. I'm gonna let it kind of play out. It's got its blinker on. It's trying to reroute. It's not gonna happen. Give it some acceleration because this truck is clearly not happy. Okay, so a lot of awkwardness there. And giving trucks another reason to be irritated with Teslas. So, let's see. Okay, now it's, oh, and we came across a cop in the middle of the road here. I'm taking over, although it might have been okay. So some traffic there, some cops, all kinds of crazy stuff. All right. I hit the brake and it disengaged. So I'm re-engaged here. You know what? We might end up skipping the Pybus Challenge for today. The good thing is it has not been an issue at all over the last several builds. So I'm mostly testing for regression. And I would like to do that. And I think I would like to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take over here. I'm going to take a right and see if we can't get us back on track. Okay, so we have to kind of wait for, we obviously have to wait for this traffic in front of us. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna disengage there. That might be an interesting to test because again, it does this weird thing where it keeps creeping even though traffic is crossing in front of us. And I've noticed it does that for cars that are making a left turn in front of us as we're trying to make a left. It starts to creep a little bit forward even as the car hasn't cleared us yet. And that's not only awkward for me as a driver, but certainly the car passing, if they're paying attention at all, would make them nervous. So that might be something I think if I had a report button I would do. But I guess there was a disengagement. So not a perfect drive. Although here's again the kind of funny thing with the way coming this way, we're already in the appropriate lane to test the Pybus Challenge. So Pybus Challenge might be just not going to work out for us today, which again is fine because again it hasn't been an issue. So, but normally we'd be in this right-hand lane. We'd be making a truck, you know, it would make a right here. But there's a right turn only, and then some. You can barely see the marking there. That has been the traditional Pybus Challenge. It will be in the right lane and either get stuck or want to go straight when it should be in this lane and want to go straight. So this isn't going to be an issue at all today. We're paused at a four-way stop, though. It's clearly our turn. But Beta wants to let that truck go first. So maybe it's penance for irritating the truck behind us earlier. Okay, so that is that. Let's get into the right lane. Let's put in the end of loop and let's get on with the rest of this loop. Okay, nobody behind us. Can I engage? I can. So let's make our right here. so we need, maybe you can't see this lane. Yeah, I can't really see the left turn lane that we should be in. Oh my gosh. So it saw that truck. We're not quite in the lane, but we are now. Now that it's creeped a little bit, we are in the lane. Luckily there's nobody coming, but man, it should have committed a little bit faster than that. That left usually isn't an issue, but okay, so it's gonna do a zipper merge up here to get into the right lane only, which, you know, is in previous videos. This one is always kind of a it's always kind of a gamble whether or not it's going to make it into the lane, whether someone's going to let us into the lane. But that one, you know, worked out as I would have done it, actually, staying in the left-hand lane and just zooming ahead of the traffic on the right. In the past, the issue has been that it stays in this lane, moves into the left lane, then moves back into the right lane, so some lane switching. We actually do need to be in the left lane, like optimally. And if you've seen my previous video where I kind of went a little bit bonkers, did the right thing, we were in that left lane and made it into the correct lane. Looks like here we're staying in the left. Oh no, it's gonna make its way to the right or left here. Okay, so that's fine again, but now it needs to stay in this middle lane. And it's gonna do it. Awesome. All right. So again, this is, yes, the big thumbs up here. That's, you know, it should have actually been on the left-hand lane the whole way, but hey, I will take it, you know. It usually will be make its move to the left-hand lane, move to the right lane, and then at the apex of that turn that we're on right now, move over to the left lane, which is so awkward, so uncomfortable, and just not how it should be done. And it went ahead and made that no problem at all. So for my initial thoughts for where we're at with this build and kind of this particular drive, kind of hard to say, mostly because our loop didn't go normally, but on top of that, you know, had some awkwardness with some things, had a couple of disengagements. You know, the one with the police after it made the right turn and the cop was in the middle of the road, that's a hard one. I have to go back and look at it. Let me know what you guys thought if you're able to go back and look at it. But I'm gonna go back and look at the footage when I edit this and see. I think it was slowing, but I just went ahead and just out of instinct, you know, stopped it, which caused a disengagement. And you know, I'm not gonna mess around with law enforcement conducting their activities. So I think that was interesting. And then the missing the turn to try and get back down to Pybus, and then the reroutes caused a lot of anxiety, really, for me as the pilot, and then some confusion for other drivers. Again, eventually it made it, and I have to double check. I don't believe I disengaged, but yeah, it just made it awkward. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put on the next destination, and we'll keep recording. It will kind of be boring, I'm sure, but I'll let it do its thing. And when we get to the intersection, I'll slow it down to normal speed and walk you through what we're looking at. Up to our intersection here. The main reason I'm testing this is is a strange intersection. Is kind of like we're on a highway, right? And this lane I want to be in goes to Wenatchee, and it's a slight left to kind of go through to get to Wenatchee, whereas the right lane then kind of continues on to be the highway. We want to be in this lane, which it usually has been okay with, but then tends to make some crazy turn signals, and we'll see what happens up here. So usually it'll make a signal to make a left, yep, which we don't need to do that. And okay, so accelerator. So that's still an issue. There's no reason for the blinker there. I had to use the accelerator to get us through the intersection. It seems to get like confused right there. So that's kind of the weird intersection that I keep wanting to test. I hope that the accelerator press is enough to report it back to Tesla, since I don't have the button any longer. Editor Sean here. I'm going to narrate this clip because something very interesting happened. I have FSD engaged, and the car, instead of staying in the right-hand lane, chose to move in this left-hand lane and quickly found itself in some slush. I didn't feel it was correcting itself in any way, so I went ahead and took over. I started to slide and was able to maneuver back into a dry lane. But this is a really good example of how FSD is not ready yet at all to handle things like slush and interpret what that is and what's going to happen. So also for new testers, this is again something to keep in mind, especially this time of year if you live in a climate like mine where we get snow and that sort of thing. So, just want to share this last bit of clip here. Kind of scary, but it's also another good example of don't let it do stupid things. I decided, hey, it moved in the left-hand lane, no harm, no foul, but I should have disengaged because that would have been an issue, something that Tesla should be aware of. It should not have gotten to that left-hand lane. And in other builds, it hasn't. It usually has gotten in there just fine, especially with the follow car like we have here. But for some reason, chose that left-hand lane, found itself in some slush, and certainly, I don't even know, I couldn't tell if it had any idea even what was going on. I didn't see any indication on the screens that it knew that it was sliding, and I just knew I had to take over because I could feel the car out of control. So a little bit scary, but I was able to take over before it became an issue. So anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Thanks everybody for watching. Again, appreciate everybody liking, comment, and subscribing to my video and channel. If you see something strange here and wanted to point out I maybe missed it, that could certainly be true as well. Feel free to leave that comment in the video here below, and we'll catch you next time. Now, Teslafy.